Now you have here one of the best lava tubes, aka lava caves, in all of Northern California. Basically, it's created as the outside cools while the lava is still moving inside. So this whole thing was a moving mass of liquid rock, and the outside cooled while the inside was still hot enough that it kept moving, and basically forms a tube that goes about, I don't know, maybe another mile underground. There's a couple areas where it comes out to the surface that way, but then it gets kind of hairy, and I've gone all the way in. It's not very fun. It's kind of spooky. You're smelling rat shit and rat piss, and then it just gets increasingly narrow, and there's lots of dust. This volcanic soil is very dusty. But an interesting thing is John Muir wrote about camping in this very cave in 1888 and finding a bunch of bighorn sheep skeletons that presumably were left over from an indigenous camp. Indigenous people have been camping here and utilizing this cave for hundreds, if not thousands of years. And bighorn sheep used to be present in the area. In fact, that mountain over there was named for them, but they've since been wiped out, overhunted, and then of course a lot of them just died from diseases brought by domestic sheep. It's kind of sad. Maybe we should do a reintroduction at some point. But regardless, there's a couple cool plants down here. You got some rare penstemons, some cool Paeoniaceae, and my favorite, hopefully it's blooming, you got the western peony growing down. Well, the western peonies aren't going off anymore. They're pretty goddamn beautiful flower when they are going up. But here's these ribes, gooseberries, aka the currants. Genus is ribes, and they're edible and delicious. And holy shit, I can't believe, because I know a lot of other people are coming here, but no one else is eating these. Probably because they don't know what the shit they're looking at when they're looking at plants. But benefits of being a botanist. Huh? Look at all that bird shit. Some kind of raptor had their nest there. And right over there, you can see somebody tagged glory hole on a rock. How eloquent, you know? I'd like to go tag glory hole on their depressing suburban tract house, wherever they live. Anyway, you got, this is one of the skylight areas, entrance to the main cave there, which you can see goes down, and then it opens up again. There's another skylight, and then it goes down again, and it doesn't come back up. It's just dark and deep and kind of creepy and smells like rat shit, like I said. But you can see this is a species of Prunus rosaceae, aka the choke cherries, and then there's the ribes up there, and you know that, and then based just on the human history of this spot for hundreds of years, this was quite likely an indigenous campsite, and they were quite likely sowing their own gardens here. They're basically their own edible gardens, as noted by the abundance of you know, edible plants here, like the ribes and the cherries, etc., the native cherries. And then, of course, the multiple bighorn sheep skulls that were found in the area. And the fact that this little depression area stays about 20 degrees cooler than the surface, which is basically just, you know, Great Basin high desert, hot as fuck in the summer. And then, of course, it gets very cold in the winter. And this is a more moderated climate down here. So, pretty interesting. Like I said, human history goes back quite a ways with this, and probably hundreds of years at a local indigenous people were using this is basically a camp.